There's a lot going on. If you're not paying attention, there's a lot going on. We had this whole hurricane thing. A little storm happened up in North Carolina and several other places like Florida, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Georgia. And so there's that, and how our beautiful, wonderful, good, godly government is taking care of them. And more. Find out all this and, like I said, more on Self-Evident Podcast. Honda to all you Hispanics.
What?
¿Qué onda? I said Honda, just like
I love it. I love it. Senior.
Yeah, which means what's up in Spanish. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Self-Evident Podcast. You got Mass, you got Mike. We are excited to be here. Most of you guys know we're going to cover the Hurricane Helene and all that stuff. But for now, we'll tell you, there's a lot of reasons we don't cover things right away. And if you've been with us for a while, you'll understand why. If you're new to us, let us explain. There's a lot going on, and I'll get into all the other commercial stuff that we do in a bit. We don't do things right away because typically a lot of stuff gets hurled, i.e. there's a lot of AI images being made in the name of Hurricane Helene.
This one's driving me nuts.
Right?
This one is driving me nuts.
There's all these stories about FEMA. There's all these things, and we don't have the full scope. We just start sharing stuff on social media. People get upset, frustrated. We're with you. We wait for a while, at least 7 days before something major happens to get all the facts, and then we report or we give our take on it, what we can do about it biblically, that kind of thing. So this whole hurricane situation's happened. It's been a minute. But it's because there's so much going on in the middle of it. We're still trying to dig out information on dams and what happened there. A whole mess of conspiracy theories. Is this man-made? There's so many things, right, that we're kind of looking into and all that stuff. However, really, it's about lives being affected. So we don't want to say something stupid and ridiculous and lead some people astray or get people hurt. That's not our mission here. So
exactly,
that's why we're taking our time.
And that's something that. It may get a little bit annoying because you want to tune in and hear up to date
the right away stuff.
The stuff, breaking news and all that. And we do talk about rumors going on or alleged, and we try to say, hey, this is a rumor, this is alleged. And then we report stuff that reputable figures are talking about as well. So you'll see that in all of this.
Yeah.
And I have no love for FEMA, so you're going to notice that as we go. Kind of.
I don't know who does.
Right. And Massey, thankfully, he did point out, and I want you, when we get to this, I want you to point out kind of the nuances that people might be missing about FEMA and all of this.
Yeah.
Now, the government does not come out smelling like roses at the end of it. I'm going to tell you the end at the beginning. Spoiler alert, your government does not come out smelling like roses in this whole situation. But we'll get into it. So what happened? So maybe you didn't know, but there was a little storm that occurred over in North Carolina area, Tennessee, South Carolina, Georgia. And people don't realize the amount of destruction that happened.
Right.
And it
was crazy.
I do want to make a point here with you of so there was this image that I saw on Facebook the other day of a little girl holding a puppy with
which
a
should have
life.
thrown everyone off, right?
Right.
That's such a perfect image to catch in the middle of water in a boat with a puppy. That should have thrown everybody like that's a little too perfect.
And she's like perfectly with a little tear. And it's AI. Okay, so be careful what you're sharing. I saw some of my own friends sharing it, like this makes me cry and that kind of thing. And I'm not making fun of you guys. I'm not disparaging you. I get it, especially people who are behind the curve on what AI can do. Now, Massey and I are both pretty experienced in the whole AI image realm because we've been using it, we've been working with it, we've been looking into it, and there are telltale features for you to figure out to know what you're looking at. Now, obviously, those things are getting more subtle and subtle, but these images are AI. Okay, so be careful on the heart-jerking images. That being said, there are plenty of factual, real images, video, all of that out there in the internet webs that are horrific of the damage. Whole towns have been wiped away.
Yes.
And I was listening to Glenn Beck this morning, just getting some more research. He said there was one spot where there was a house that had somehow survived the flow of all of the water, and a bunch of trailer homes stacked up against it, and another house on the other side of it. And they were talking to officials there, and the officials said, yeah, that house somehow it held. The trailers are from like 4 blocks away. They said, but we don't know where that other house came from. We think it's from 2 towns over.
Jeez.
And people don't realize the amount of destruction that happened in this, where people are talking about bodies in trees because the water levels were so high.
So high, yeah. And all they had to cling to was that, and we couldn't get help and assistance there fast enough. And, there is one thing, too. We're going to talk about North Carolina, I'm sure, in a lot of this, but there's one thing, and I have to be careful how I state this. We're not thinking about the other areas like Tennessee, Kentucky, Florida, man. We're about to go through another storm here.
Yeah.
But Tampa, Sarasota, there's areas that have been like wiped, and there's debris in the streets. The garbage, there's a post by, and I'll find it here. I think it was Wake Up with Linda. I'd love to tag her in this.
And mind you, whole towns up in the Panhandle got, there were little beachside towns that got completely wiped.
Here it is. And you can't see it very well, and you probably won't. But there's this video. Basically, this is a town in Sarasota, the town of Sarasota. There's garbage piled up on the streets, and the garbage people are refusing to pick it up, and they're about to hit another storm. So that's just
goodness.
What would that create?
Right.
All that debris already there, and high winds. You know what I mean? So like,
dangerous.
There are towns affected we're not even talking about, and I'm not, again, I'm not trying to take away from what's happening in North Carolina. I'm not. However, there are so many other areas. Like, a lot of people are coming from Florida to North Carolina to help. Do it. What about Sarasota? What about Kentucky? What about Tennessee? There's a lot of areas affected. We got to really think about that. And the area of North Carolina is being really focused on, which we should. We have friends up there, several friends, and definite a lot of people helping.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. We need to do that.
Yep. No, and I'm with you. And I'm glad you said that, because we're staring down the barrel of Milton, which this morning was
at
hit
a 4.
Category 4.
Yeah.
There's possibility of it hitting 5. Now it's supposed to back off, and they're thinking it's going to hit cooler waters. I think they were talking there was some dry air that's going to slow it down. So they're thinking still Category 3 when it actually hits. Mm-hmm. But Category 3 is a major hurricane. Like,
they're over 100 mile an hour. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's gunning right for Tampa, who just went through some crap for Helene. And we've got to gear up.
We do. And again, please be mindful of that. Us in Florida, let's focus. Yes, let's go to North Carolina. We will probably eventually have to make a trip up there, not because we have to, but because we really want to help. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of boots on the ground there. But, man, I got to make my way, and I'm sure our church will get involved in going on that other side as a mission team and do that stuff too. So we'll probably end up going there. But the current situation is bad, and we're seeing FEMA. This is kind of the premise of the show. What happens when your government gives $300 billion to Lebanon so far this year?
Million.
300 million so far this year to Lebanon. Countless billions to Ukraine.
Oh, dude. Cleaning storehouses for it.
Yeah, we've given how much to Iran and Iraq over our years?
Oh, dude.
Billions. And other places. We've given money all over we literally subsidize some nations' economies as a country. Which I don't think is right. I think it's illegal. I don't think it should be done that way, because we're not supposed to get in foreign entanglements like that. But then a hurricane happens, which, by the way, none of the stuff that happened in North Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, Kentucky, Florida, happened because of a war, because people are being stupid, because they can't agree, because we've had these proxy wars and wars happening since literally the beginning of time, right? The whole Iraq, Iran, Jews, like the whole Palestine stuff, that's been happening way before most of us were even thoughts, okay? Our people were affected by natural acts of God, which happen, and they have to apply for assistance. They have to apply to get help. They have to apply. Now, I'm hearing a lot of stuff, and you alluded to it earlier. Yes, they said $750, which this does not look good for the Harris administration, which, by the way, caveat, that makes me question what the heck is going on. Why would they paint her in such a stupid light? You know what I mean? That's a weird one to me.
Yeah,
they're stupid. But
somebody needs to get fired for the messaging on that, because either you are grossly incompetent or you are truly sticking your finger in the eye of the American citizen.
This isn't just dropping the ball. That's like flat ignorance. Like what's going on here, right? That we're not seeing. Because don't even put it past government. Don't even say that you guys are conspiracy. No. Don't put it past governments. Governments have been nefarious since the beginning of time. Okay, just look at pharaohs, Roman kings, emperors, senates. They've all come against things and they've all conspired. So don't even try me with that, okay? This isn't anything new.
And how often have they shown their disdain for their own citizenry?
Yeah.
And they have shown it to America over the past several years, how much they actually hate the American citizen, the typical citizen.
Yeah, and many Greek philosophers and those have spoken on the ills of governments and how terrible they were. And Socrates and all these guys have written about these things many times over. So this isn't even just from a Christian perspective. This is those guys weren't. These were philosophers that didn't exactly hold to the tenets of Jesus. They used the tenets of Jesus, but they weren't Christian. So this isn't just me talking. Don't even think that can't happen, especially in this era, especially with AI and everything. So many things can happen. Anyways, let's get back to the point.
Go ahead.
FEMA is doing the $750 thing, but they also have other programs about building houses back. And, there's many other programs they offer too. My contention is when you gave the recent, was it $8 billion to Ukraine?
I think so.
Like a week and a half ago?
Yeah.
Are you running the same programs, and is FEMA over there controlling how the money's being spent, and are they controlling other nations helping them, and maybe possibly churches going in and helping affected areas of Ukraine or Gaza or anything like that? Like, are we putting the same tabs on that money we're giving them the way FEMA's doing in our country? Does this make sense?
Do they have to apply for the
100%.
money in an area without electricity or food or water or internet or communications or cell phone? Like, do they have to do that? Or do you just hand them a paycheck?
They've got to apply for it. Well, how'd you expect them to do that when cell phone towers are down?
Dude.
We have a pastor out there that we were supposed to go speak at. He actually had to go to the middle, like he said something about near the middle of town at a stoplight. That's the only place he can get cell phone reception.
Wow.
To call us to say, hey, we'd love to have you out, but, and
things happen.
Yeah, things, a little storm happened last week, tree went down, fixed the roof, but like you're seeing this tyrannical control of money to its own people. Again, none of this happened because of a war. This was outside of their help. Wouldn't you think the government, and I know a lot of you have this question, wouldn't you think government would say, forget the other countries, we need to fix our own right now. You guys go deal with your own stinking wars. You guys go deal with your own crap. You guys go deal. No, because it's contrived. This whole thing out there is contrived. What I mean by it's foreign entanglements. I'm not talking about the North Carolina stuff. I'm talking about out there. There's a reason they're pushing a bunch of stuff out there. There's a reason we're getting entangled in all this stuff. And if you guys have not looked this up, just look it up yourselves. The military-industrial complex. Nations profit from war. Companies profit from war. The biggest donors profit from war. This is nothing new.
Let's put that into perspective, because people don't think about that. They think Ukraine, they're fighting the Russians, and we got to save Ukraine's sovereignty.
It's all about the people.
Yeah, the people, Ukraine, because suddenly you're a Ukrainian patriot because.
Or Palestinian patriots.
Yes, exactly.
You've never been there, but
No.
it's about the Palestinians.
They probably throw you off a roof if you got there, but yeah, go Palestine, idiots.
You would stand next to them, and they would have Muslims that are there. They would have chest bombs strapped to themselves, and blow you up with them. They don't care about you.
No, his vest is a very
I'm not saying every Palestine. Okay, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying every Palestinian.
I am.
Oh man.
Anyways, so think about this. I'm glad you brought up the military-industrial complex.
Yes.
This is how nasty this is, but how easy this gets for them. Here's what happens. They go, we need to fund Ukraine. We need to help them in their military because we've got to keep the NATO umbrella right up against Russia.
That's right.
Because that matters. So in that, we've got to send them arms and munitions and ammunition and missiles
to
and
hold
all
Russia
of
at
that.
bay.
To hold Russia back. They need it. They don't have it. So what they do is they write a spending bill that they're going to send money over. But then they're also sending ammunition and weapons and missiles and all
So
of
it's more
that.
than $8 billion.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You're right. Now it gets even more perverted because the companies that make all that stuff then look at the USA and the USA goes, man, my stockpiles are depleted. Well, Lockheed, Boeing, Grumman, all you military manufacturers, I need to put in a new order for new weapons and supplies. So can you give me a contract?
Exactly.
And then the Ukraine takes the money they're given and buys more weaponry from, you guessed it, the U.S., because they're not buying from Russia.
Right.
So these companies are getting paid 2-3-fold from a war. There is such perverse incentive for our government with the revolving door of the military-industrial complex to go, well, yeah, of course we'll sign a paycheck over to Ukraine because we know it's coming back to our buddies tomorrow.
Because it's humanitarian. And I think, too, like, you ever notice that we're coming up against Russia, who, you know, again, they're their own superpower. We're not doing that against China. China's way more tyrannical in a lot of ways than a lot of areas of Russia is. You know what I mean? You look at what we are standing for, right? And the things we've tried to eliminate recently, especially, and you look at how the federal government runs, and this is just truth. When you have weak leaders, they're easily controlled, and that's what you've been seeing the last 4 years. Weak leadership is easily controlled, right? So we have to get into these Paris Accords. We've got to go out with the UN. We got to get in with the WHO. We got to, you know, have Klaus Schwab tell us how to run America when he's not even in America. He doesn't even understand. He doesn't even understand God-given rights. And that's where the big premise is. What we're going to talk about today, even with the Helene stuff, is how FEMA is getting in there, but what the church is doing. The cool thing about what's happening in North Carolina and other places is FEMA understands. They actually acknowledge this, that they cannot touch churches and their functioning because it's a First Amendment issue. So now people are giving to the churches, and the churches are beginning to distribute because they can't prohibit the free exercise of religion. That's how we're using the church. And the church is killing it right now. Tons of areas that are affected. The church is doing the best they can with the areas affected. We got men using private hangars, their planes, for helicopters to come in, for planes to come in. So there's a lot of good happening. However, why is it we're actually fighting against our own federal government? By the way, this happens every 10 years, it seems like. There's always some kind of revolution against the government in some way, shape, or form. Like that we're fighting against our own government saying, what are you doing? COVID was one of them.
And I put in a couple of examples of how people, I shouldn't even say how Americans have been basically having to push against their own government. Now,
right.
These are accounts from other people. So take it all with a grain of salt.
Yep.
But you can't help but go, okay, where there's smoke, there's probably a little bit of fire.
Of course.
So Glenn Beck, he's been on the ground a lot there. They have been flying in supplies like crazy. They have been massively helpful in this whole thing.
Which is great.
He came across a FEMA truck that was parked behind a shopping center while food distribution was going on. Private food distribution was going on across the street. And of course, all the people were over at the food distribution. Nobody was at the FEMA truck. So there were two guys sitting in lawn chairs, and he goes, okay, what's going on? Nobody's here. And they're like, oh yeah, we just got in last night, and so we're, we haven't started helping people yet. And he asks, okay, what'd you plan to do? Like, how are you going to help people? Oh, we're waiting for our flyers to hand out, so that way we can get people's information and send it to Washington so they can get approved for their
aid.
Which, of course, Beck was like, you want the people with no cell phones, no internet, no food, no water, no mailbox to come to you to give you all their information so you can send that information off to Washington, and maybe they'll get approved for the aid they can't receive anyways. But he tried to keep his mouth shut, and he was like, so are you going out and talking to people about this? Well, no, we're right here.
Yeah, we're waiting for orders.
Yeah, that's exactly what they told him.
Yeah, we're waiting for orders. And Mike and I were just talking about this off air. Might as well bring it up now. That's what a lot of these people do. You give them a little bit of power, and then they're just like useful idiots. And I don't call them that because I think the term idiot is modernly used as a bad. Who coined the term? His name was just in my mind. Useful idiots. Marxist leader.
Lenin?
Yeah. He called them useful idiots. And what he means by that is they become useful people, when you give them authority, they just follow orders. And if you know anything about the Nuremberg trials back in Germany, it was those people that said, hey, man, we were just following orders. What Hitler said, we did. What our leaders said, we did. And they were all tried, right? Yes. So you can't use that excuse, but a lot of these guys are just following orders. They're just useful idiots in a lot of ways.
The modern reflection would be the NPC meme. So if you know, you know. The NPC meme is basically like if you're playing a video game and there are game-programmed characters that just have a certain set of lines. They don't have a brain. Nothing happens with them. You're the player. Those are NPCs.
Right.
And there's this whole internet meme about like there are a lot of NPCs and people turn into NPCs of like, oh, well, I don't know. The orders weren't given. And these guys were basically that because, I don't know, our boss is inside the truck in the AC in her office. Right. She comes out and Beck's like, your guys said that you guys might be going door to door at some point. And she said, no, we don't do that. And so there's like, okay, what are you doing here? And he also talked about it, and this is where it gets frustrating. So it's not just they're waiting for orders and regulations and red tape because that is what they're built to do. Government trains you to walk through all the red tape and the regulation because they're so afraid of somebody stepping out on their own. And he also talked about a Harley dealership in Greenville who they had lost everything. I think it was Greenville. I could be wrong about that. And they had a field, so the owner of the Harley dealership is like, yeah, fly helicopters in and out of here. This is your center.
We got a big pad. Let's go. Get them in here.
Yep. And so Adam Smith, a spec ops guy, was coordinating and running the thing. Well, guess who showed up? The government. They're like, you can't do that here. There's no FAA official here. And Beck says that Smith looked at him and said, get out now.
That's right. It's funny because we have a friend who called us last night, and the reason why I'm not revealing the name, you would know who this person is, but they were saying that there was a person who has acreage up in North Carolina with animals and stuff like that. Well, the storm passes through. FEMA shows up at the door with machine guns. They have this all on record. And they were they're like, we got to confiscate all the animals and all this other stuff. We need to look in the house. And the guy said, you can get off my property right now. And they left. Like flat out, this is what you're facing. I thought it was going to be back in the day. Remember, I used to watch when I got into conspiracy theories. I thought it would be a military presence. It's flat out the people who are saying they're going to help you that are doing it.
Dude,
this is craziness.
That makes me think about, remember when they hired the 83,000 IRS agents and they're handing them guns?
They're weaponizing those guys. Dude, have you ever just been through, just go with me on this, okay? Listen to my heart. I'm not calling these people useless. I'm saying, just look at this. When you go through the airport, do you look at some of those people who are the officials of the TSA and go, man, they could stop an intruder? Or do you look at them and go,
there's a winner?
Yeah, it's like you look at them and you go, there's no way if someone ran in here with a bomb or anything like that, those people would be equipped to handle it. They'd freak out.
Yes. And
so they're using the baseless of the, listen to what I'm saying to you. They're using the baseless people who have no education on life. Really, life. I'm not talking about education up in the scholastic levels. Real life experiences to deal with these things. So they're going by a book. They're not going by real life experience. These guys that were talking about FAA stuff, I bet you if that dude was in the military, he'd be like, dude, get in here now. Get the government out of here. We need to get people in here now because people are dying, right? But because they go by the book, because that's all they've learned, useful idiots. They've been trained. This is what they do. You just follow orders. You don't go outside the fray. They love control. Government loves control.
Yes. And you nailed it because it's like this Adam Smith, spec ops guy, he's coordinating everything. Helicopters going in and out.
They've been on the ground.
Got it. He's been on the ground handling the situation. Then somebody goes, oh, well, you don't have the FAA here.
Right.
I don't care.
Yeah.
We've been doing it fine without you. Get out.
Probably way more efficient than if the FAA was here because he'd be like, yeah, your fuselage isn't hooked up. And the plane motor, did we get the mechanics? It's like, dude, they don't care.
You got some dust underneath? You probably can't fly today.
Yeah, you guys can't even manage the airports correctly, dude. Shut up and don't tell me about an FAA.
Right, because Boeing is the darling flying eagle of the FAA's incompetence.
That's right.
If you want incompetence and governmental incompetence, just look at the rash of issues Boeing has had in the past year,
Right.
because that makes me feel better about you handling emergency services in an area like North Carolina.
So listen to this. Mind you, plenty of military bases are around that area as well, which they are. And yet there's been little military response. However, they sent the Tennessee National Guard
Over to the Middle East.
over to the Middle East to go handle some business.
Yes, because that's where we need our soldiers right now.
That's where we need our national guard. National.
They're the international guard now.
What the what? You know what I mean? That's like you remember when DeSantis he basically mobilized the Florida National Guard to go down to the ports.
Yep.
I mean, that's like, first off, like my son Nathan says, that was cold, bro. That's
It was cold.
That was a cold move. It's like, you know what? You won't do it. We will. I love that.
I did have somebody push back on me like, man, I don't know. That's government involvement. I get it. I'm with you. It's like, government involvement. But at the base of it, it's like, no, good.
But it's
good.
But listen.
Because that's state infrastructure.
100%. I don't, listen, I get it. Government, you know us. We talk big against big government. But that is also a point of interposition. We talk about this in our classes. I talked about it on Saturday. Which, by the way, thank you to all those who attended that. Interposition is when the federal government won't do something or won't protect or won't do, then it's up to the states. The states have to interpose when federal government is becoming tyrannical, loose, or not obeying its own constitution. So then the states step up and get involved. Which is where it should be anyways.
And let's put that a step further. If a private organization, because technically the unions are private.
No.
No.
They're Democrat shills.
Yeah, exactly. But if somebody has control over a fundamental, necessary infrastructure and resource,
Right.
it is the duty and responsibility of the state to go, no, you will not leverage that power over the citizens of this state.
100%.
We will ensure that the citizens of the state receive what they need to receive. You can't, because otherwise a company could become a monopoly in shipping and then say, no, I'm shutting off your state.
100%.
Right.
100%. And I think, so when you have, let's just go with what he said. According to Amendment 10, those rights that are not given to the federal government are up to the states respectively. The state has an authority to do this, to say we want the whole, like, it's going to affect Florida if we shut down the ports.
Yes.
So Florida needs to do something, right? So they do. You could look at that as big government, and yes, people could take that out of context eventually if a bad, corrupt person gets in there. Yes, you could look at that. Or you could look at it and say, does he have the authority to do it? Yes, he has that authority to mobilize. He did the right thing to do it for the country. He wasn't trying to be big government on this one. Especially, like, if you look at, we were pissed when Florida shut down for a minute, and a lot of people were pissed that he said, no, we're opening back up.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, what is the authority? Liberty. If he's moving in the way of liberty, then isn't that the end cause? Right? Now, I know this is the military's a deeper conversation. Paul Garner was here. He'd be like, there's not sovereign people. I don't want to get into that mess. I'm just saying it helped economies. And I'm sure if the state government wouldn't have responded, I'm pretty darn sure county governments were probably ready to respond to it. Let's just go send people out there and do all that stuff. So let's get back into this. There have been other reports of independent helicopter pilots getting threatened to arrest for flying in the areas down there. Elon Musk's own cruise, it's not tweeted. He X'd on this.
Yeah, Elon, figure it out, man. What do we call those things?
He X'd on this when he said his people were stopped by FEMA for trying to put up Starlink there in that area to help with generators and stuff. Dude, this guy's like so innovative. You got to give it to him.
I freaking love it.
Look. For him, it's almost like a Tony Stark, right?
Yes.
It's like just putting little Starlink things up. It's like, man, this guy, it's just smart stuff.
He is really kind of the
innovative
real world version of Tony Stark at this point.
Less penthouse.
Yes,
he's not a real penthouse guy.
No,
you know what I mean?
He's more of a box home off of Amazon type guy.
Yeah, he lives off the grid. You know what I mean? Has like 100 square foot home. poops where he stands kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Elon, it's all love and respect.
No, it's all,
dude,
legit.
I would love to sit down with that guy just because he's so real.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, I just love to have a conversation
And
with
he's
him.
thought his positions through. He's not just saying stuff to say stuff.
Right.
That's one thing I can respect about Mark Cuban. You may not like him because of his politics or whatever, but you know what? Everything he says, he believes, and he's thought it through. He's got his position. You got to respect it. You know, and I respect people who've thought it out. They're not just people who take talking points, right? The reason he dislikes Trump is because he's been with Trump and he's seen some things that were shady. So I get it.
Did you see the thing? And this is totally off subject, but Cuban tried to have a TV show kind of in the same vein as Trump. It failed, and Trump wrote the guy a letter basically saying, "Oh, that sucks so bad. That must be embarrassing. Well, if you need help, let me know."
Yeah, if you need any ratings help, basically, dang, cold.
It's like,
cold.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't like Trump after that one either. But my guess is there was beef between them before that, right?
Dude. Yeah. Again, he's called him out publicly,
Yeah.
Cuban. And again, respect for him, too. On that front, he called out publicly what he thought was wrong. He's not trying to hide it, is what I'm saying. They're out in the open. I can respect that. And I do think Cuban, if you sat down with him and talked actual policy and constitutional stuff, I think he would go around and go, you know what? That makes sense. I get why he thinks things through.
And
I would love to sit with him.
Respect where respect is due. If you watch him on Shark Tank, you get the sense that he cares about people.
Yeah.
Like he's not just
Cares about his kids.
ivory tower billionaire that hates everybody. And, you know, he seems to care about the people he's talking to.
Yeah. And we're going a little off the weeds here. But Cuban did, after he sold his one company, each one got a bonus. And they were able to, he goes, hefty bonuses, like stuff they would never see in their lifetime.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
so the Mavericks, when he sold his majority stake, everybody that worked for him got another big, in the millions.
Wow.
Like some of these guys, not
That's
just in the Mavericks, but his other business. So he's no slouch when it comes to rewards and people that have been with him. He recognizes that. So it's like, when I look at that, I see goodness in there, and I'm like, Lord, what is that? What do you have in that dude? You know, so you got to pray for the guy. You don't just you don't condemn the dude.
Absolutely,
we got to figure out a way to get to him. So let's go back to this. Pete Buttigieg gave him a phone call about the whole situation.
Supposedly.
And FEMA has blocked runways with 10 helicopters. 30 planes were going in and out each day, and FEMA tried to halt that operation.
In Greenville. And I watched the video of this, and you could see the helicopters parked along the runway so that no planes could fly in or out. Yeah. And the helicopters were sitting there. Now, you would think if the helicopters were there, they would be in and out, moving supplies. No, they were sitting there, which is government inefficiency, because you have these, what is now been termed the hillbilly Air Force. Dude, they're moving 24/7, and they're doing their thing. They're in and out. Every minute, they're coming in and out. And then you look over at the FEMA helicopters, and they're all just sitting there. The pilots are sitting around. Nothing's going on. That is government inefficiency in a nutshell. Anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go through this quickly. FEMA, Dr. Phil was even there. I saw some videos with him and Samaritan's Purse. He says they're out working FEMA, and I saw this yesterday when you put it down. I saw that. Tim Kennedy's reporting that the hotels that are filled up with FEMA agents and displaced citizens are being turned away from hotels because there is no room.
And so I tend to take what Tim Kennedy says at face value. I haven't seen anything where it's this guy's full of crap.
But then you have Mayorkas says FEMA was running out of money to be able to help with the response. Even though we've given $1 billion, there's never not enough help for the illegals.
No, we need more. More help.
Unbelievable.
More help.
Somehow we have them, we get their debit cards, $3,500. They got places to stay. This dude was interviewing 2 Hispanic ladies in New York, I believe it was, or Jersey. And he said, how long have you guys been staying here? She said, since July, about 8 months. She's all speaking in Spanish. He goes, you haven't had to pay rent at all in this hotel? She goes, nope. But our people, you know, these people that the Democrats say, we need to get rid of this voter registration stuff. You know, we don't need to let them have IDs, right? We need to make it easier for people who can't do for themselves. You got a whole friggin' side of the state that was wiped out, but not them.
Yes.
And you know what it's really saying? You know what it's really saying? Your nation has abandoned you. This is flat out treason. I don't care what you say. This is impeachable for everyone involved because they've abandoned their own country. The entire purpose of government was not only to protect our rights, but to protect the citizen, to ensure domestic tranquility. This is not tranquility. This is control. This is tyranny, bro, at its finest. And I'm gonna say it again. This is treason. Kamala knows what she's doing. Biden knows what he's doing. They all know what they're doing. They're playing stupid, but they know what they're doing. This Mayorkas guy, all these guys are traitors to your country, and each one of them should be impeached. Now, I don't know how that would look on a grand scale, because I've never seen this before. Like, not at this. I mean, we've seen incompetency.
Yeah.
George Bush Jr. was probably one of them. What he did with the Patriot Act was straight up treason. And we've been saying that since the beginning, since 2001. It's treason, what he did. And they've been using it ever since to infringe on our liberties. But treason is not something to be played with. And if treason was really tried in this country, would people continue to do it? No. No, not at all. So what do we do? Go ahead.
Let's clarify this, because some people, oh, you just don't know. You don't know. The government's doing a lot. Pause. I'm going to give you a thought experiment to show you, no, the government is not doing a lot here. A, why does it seem like we're having to pull teeth to get extra funding to send money down there? But on one day, FEMA said, well, we're giving $45 million. From their own website says, we're giving $45 million for this cause. The next day, $175 million is sent to Lebanon. And we're talking about the humanitarian crisis. Strike one. Strike two. If our nation, our government, actually cared about these people, would you not see a massive mobilization of National Guards from around the nation, as well as military? You would be seeing video of military helicopters and Humvees and tanks and all kinds of construction equipment just descending upon this area. Why is it you're not seeing any video of that?
And I'm telling you, every politician up for election this year would be like, what can we do to help?
Right.
Let's even put our election mess on. Kamala, if she was smart in her people, right away, she'd have been like, President Trump, can we just work together on this? Can you mobilize your people who are for you? I'll mobilize mine. We need to go over here and help these areas. We need to do it now. Forget the politics for a minute. This is America. This is America right now.
Yeah.
We're a people. We're united people.
That's absolutely right. Like, you would have seen massive mobilization, but instead all you're seeing is the political fighting. So to me, that's really strike two and strike three. But what you're witnessing is what you're not seeing. And sometimes we forget about sins of omission because we're so stuck on sins of commission, right? So we're hearing about FEMA confiscating people's stuff. We're hearing about FEMA blocking down runways and airports. We're hearing about FEMA. I think it was the New York Post or Newsweek, I can't remember who, forgive me, reported that FEMA turned around because of a road closed sign.
Right.
We can't get there, road closed.
Right.
So you're hearing these stories. You would be hearing stories and seeing video, and the talk and the narrative would be the massive mobilization of America to help this area if it were happening. But it's not happening, which tells me, no, it's true that the government is getting in the way, and these people are flat out saying, get out of here, we'll do it ourselves.
Right. And there's a section here that Mike wrote, and I this is so crazy he wrote it because this is exactly what I was thinking. We didn't even talk about this, but this is great. He's like, what do we do? Because I think that's the greatest question. What do we do? Can we just donate? Is that what we do? Do we go out there and be boots on the ground? Because I know a lot of us, if we went there, we'd be like, well, I don't even know where to start. You know what I mean?
Right.
I've never used a chainsaw. I mean, some of you, I'm not saying all of you, but some of you would be like, I don't know what to do. I never lifted a hammer to build a house. What do? Many towns have one road in or out. And a lot of these roads are washed out. And I just the pictures alone, this is, it's
horrific,
bro. So a friend of ours is from Lake Lure, and they were on a ridge. It was like their final home. So they sold their property here in Florida. They built a home over there. That's where Dirty Dancing, I think, was filmed.
I think so, yeah.
The entire city is gone. And you're thinking, man, and like you, this sparked me too. Thank God for places like Appalachia. Basically, there's a lot of people giving the middle finger to the government. I'm in complete agreement. I think that's what we need to do.
I think it's good.
Because that's exactly what the founders did. Eventually, they were like, if you're going to keep attacking us, whatever, we got to do it ourselves now. And they did, But you wrote in here, and I think it's great. There are plenty of volunteers or plenty of places. There's a lot of churches. They're saying to give your aid to the churches around there for them to do it. If you're going to send supplies, go to the churches. Don't go to any place else, really. Go to the churches. And then the churches know who's there, who aren't church people, who can get that stuff too. But you said you plan on resourcing out disaster response training. I think that is huge, man. Like, I don't know the first thing about a disaster. Like, I've never been, you know what I mean? Like, and we're men. We'll get in it. We'll get in the fray. But I've never had to focus on disaster response. Right. What does that even mean?
Right.
And so it's just really cool how you wrote that,
No, I appreciate it. And it sparked me this morning because I was watching a video, and it was it's an organization that they train their people in disaster response and emergency situation and all that. And they're fairly organized. And these guys were talking about, one of the things they said was like, look, we love that so many people are coming out, but some people are trying to play cowboy and they're putting themselves at risk and they're causing some dangerous situations. But B, nobody knows what they're doing, and there's lack of logistics, right? So when you get into a situation like this, there's a massive complex logistics web that you have to figure out, like where are supplies going, where are the supplies going to get housed, right. Who's bringing the supplies, how much do you send, where do you intake, what are you doing for search and rescue, and all of that. And it was like, dang, dude, I want to help, but man, I need some training on this, right? Because I don't want to be that guy that shows up with a chainsaw and is like, I'm ready to help, and they're like, well, okay, what can you do? Oh, I don't know, I'm here to cut trees. And just start cutting trees, and they're like, dude, you're destroying things. Just slow down,
Yeah, and there are people who we need like that too, just bodies that can,
they need those.
Yeah, runners and things like that. That don't take us wrong. But wouldn't it be better if you were a runner that has some kind of training? It's like going on an accident scene. If you don't know CPR or whatever, you're just standing there.
Right.
But if you knew CPR, if you knew how to handle high-pressure situations, if you knew how to, calm everybody down, and you had training in that, like trauma response, it'd be better. You're there to actually affect change. And most people are bystanders. You know what I mean? A lot of us don't know how to do this. And this actually gets into a bigger conversation. Having extra food for things like this around your house and homesteading and all these other things, like having dry goods, because there's people on your street that are, like many of us, bystanders. We don't know the stuff. So to be somewhat prepared to be able to distribute food as a Christian and as a person, as an American, to be out there to help other people, to learn trauma response. And I think that's a big thing. It's outsourcing, and we'll probably post about it, where we can get some trauma training and disaster response training and those kind of things. Also, another thing too, like let's just, we're you said it, we're kind of staring on the barrel of Milton, Hurricane Milton. Go to your neighbor's house, see if they need anything. Help them with shutters, help them with all these things. Make a trip out to Tampa and Sarasota, see how you can help. Like those little things, you have no idea the morale it brings to people. When you're like, hey man, I care, I'm a neighbor, what do you need help with? Right. I want to help you. You know what I mean? Like you and I, like we're going to go help each other do that. But there's people on my street that are older. They don't. So those little things go so far with people, right? And it helps them and it brings them peace and comfort. Maybe some of these old people can't go grocery shopping. Man, go pick up some toilet paper, some water for them, some basic essentials. A friend of ours just reached out to you about a generator, and you didn't need it, and he goes, "Well, Massey might need it." It's like, dude, I would, and it was great. It's like he had it sitting there. He's like, I'm not using it to run things in my house that are essential and necessary. And what if that means the guy across the street who are good friends of ours, or they need to plug in their phones for a minute? There's a generator here, so just little things like that. What can we do right now for Floridians? Batten down the hatches, but like Oklahoma, Minnesota, places that watch us, California, it wouldn't hurt you to maybe, and I'm not trying to put a guilt trip on you. I'm really not trying to do that. But instead of maybe taking your family vacation, why don't you come down to North Carolina for a few days, teach your kids what it is to do mission work. Let's go help these people. Yeah. I mean, seriously, that would, I told Sue, my two oldest boys, Aaron, because he just doesn't understand, but the two oldest boys, they would love it to go down and just help people. That's their heart, dude.
And it really kind of, it woke up in me really this morning of, there are these type of events like Helene where it's like, I want to go help, but I don't want to get in the way, and I know a lot of people are going all that. And it's waking up in me of like, no, I want to be able to be trained and ready to go.
Yeah.
That, okay, babe, I got to go for a couple of days and go and be of service and really help. Now you can say you don't need all that training. You can go and you can help. And you're absolutely right.
You could.
But they're always at a lack of having enough people who are trained and able to plug into what's going on and help the logistics scenario. And I get pissed because I watch government come in and screw the whole thing up.
Yeah.
And it's like, all the more I want to go and be able to help. And government, get out of here. Like, just
yeah, we don't need
go.
you. and I think that's probably the greatest message we can send to government is we don't need you.
Right.
It's obviously proven you don't care. So we don't need you. You watch us build back. You watch us actually do this build back better thing. You watch us hopefully adopt what the Amish do. We could all use a little bit of Amish in us, you know, when one neighbor's house goes down, we get together and build up and, you know, build houses. And it's cool to see these cities that say they won't be rebuilt. The federal government's like, we're not going to. And then they're like, the city council comes out and says, yeah, right.
Which actually happened.
Yeah, I know.
You know, and if you guys don't know what he's talking about, I don't know where
is
the
it Chimney
city
Rock?
is.
Was it Chimney Rock?
It might have been Chimney Rock. But one of these cities, the federal government said, yeah, no, you're not going to be able to rebuild. We're not going to help you do that. And the mayor was like, no, screw you, we're building back.
That's like pretty
I'm
amazing.
sending my money to you, dude.
I know this was a longer podcast, and the reason, again, we do this for a reason. Because there's a lot of questions we all have, dude. Like, I'm not there. I'm not seeing all this. I'm just seeing what we see on the news and our trusted news sources we watch. And a lot of you are TikTokers and Instagrammers, not dissing on that, but there's a lot of stuff that's not true, maybe.
Weird stuff.
Yeah, stuff posted, and I'm not there. I don't see it. However, we know something happened, and we can all be a part of the change. So there's some definite places you can help start sending support to. I'm not going to promote a lot of these places because I've heard some stuff, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. But like, you know, Sue, she's We Impact the Nation. We actually have a fund going on as well, I believe. We have yeah, I think so. Carrie had set it up for us to send aid to friends that are there on boots on the ground. We know they're actually doing it. They're church people. This is, you know, all that stuff. If you guys want to find out more information, we can you can message us and we can get you that information. We don't want to put it public yet because we don't. I'm just leery about a lot of stuff out there, dude. You know what I mean? People take advantage so fast, you know, so is it really for them or the people? So, but yeah, we'll get you the information if you guys want to message us, and we'll get you the information there. And, but keep praying, keep interceding, keep fasting, keep doing what you're doing. And do this trauma response stuff, you know, like this disaster relief stuff. We really need to learn more,
and,
you know,
and we'll keep you up to date. We'll keep it posted because what I really want to do is be able to set up classes for, especially here locally, where we'll get some experts in and group of us will start getting some training.
Yeah, totally.
So we'll keep you updated on it when we figure it out.
Yeah, this is one of those things we always wonder was self-evident or whatever. What do we do? It's like, you know, if I can't take care of my state first, you know, my county people first, how can I take care of a country? You know, if I can't even fix my own house. You know, the Bible's clear about how can you take care of the church of God? Let's fix us first. You know, and again, we'll go out to North Carolina and stuff, but we need to learn, you know, so it's one thing to be a shade tree mechanic and it's one thing to go to an ASE certified mechanic, right? So it's like, let's just do the right thing.
Yep. So. Absolutely. Amen. All right. So do not forget to go to theselfevidenttruth.com, get yourself some shirts, some merch, some resources.
I didn't even announce that. It's not about the money.
I got you. I got you covered. So yeah, and that's part of it is like we're more concerned about you helping out those in need right now, and do be praying for Florida as far as Milton and all of that. Yeah. Please be praying. We're on the east side, so we're not going to catch the brunt of it. But man, we're still potentially in the pathway of the whole thing. But be definitely praying for the west side. Man, they just got nicked, and now they're getting hit head on. Yeah, we'll keep you updated. We love all of you guys. We hope you all have a great day. Love you guys. And run.